Distinguished invited guests, ladies and gentlemen, our various panelists and guest speakers, welcome to the 2023 Investing in Development Conference hosted by Hill Denham in collaboration with USAID, Prosper Africa, and Power Africa. And it's part of a multi-year partnership with USAID and DAI, with the objective being crowding in capital for development towards infrastructure and for us accelerating the attainment of the SDGs.
The United States Agency for International Development, or USAID, is delighted to support this conference, which aligns with our goal of advancing Nigeria's progress towards a more prosperous, stable, and resilient future.
The most important thing is that there probably is no greater impact investment than in investing in infrastructure in the country.
So what are the initiatives we need to back upon if we want to make infrastructure investment attractive and bankable? So currency risk management, exposure, security, affordability. Because again, once it's in private hands and it needs to make a return on investment, it has to be affordable. The users have to be able to use the infrastructure and pay for it regularly, so that revenue streams are continuous.
But I think it's very difficult for corporates or for any organization to invest in infrastructure if they don't understand what the exit is. What is the route to actually monetizing that investment? What are the availability of projects? And how can we find those projects and finance them and get them to financial close? The other two challenges are equally important. And those are the two challenges that certainly, we at Hill Denham are very focused on, and where we've had extraordinary support from the institutional investment market. And those two challenges are around long-term financing and long-term ownership. And the solution to both of those challenges, sit in the capital markets. And so it's very, very important that we find solutions that allow investors the ability to trade into and out of these types of products into the future. How do we sort of deal with this FX question, and how can we get more infrastructure financed in local currency?
Governments need to control the things that lead to these currency devaluations and the things that lead to higher costs of investment. And as I said, things like inflation, things like their deficits, both current account and the capital account.
If I'll ask you to just share with us the potential for a business like yours in this market over the next 20 years when the population will become 400 million people. And how many people today do you think that the work you do is already touching?
One way or the other, whether through software or supply or finance or whatever service or good we are providing, we're working with about over 250,000 merchants. So we do expect to be sizable. I think the real challenge is more like the level of innovation you have to maintain versus government regulation versus the amount of capital available and things like that, which is the formula we're trying to get right.
I think you could just share, some of the experience in how you've been able to, grow the business and how you've been able to contribute to our economy.
Good management, good governance, building trust with lenders to fund this business in the early days. The early land grab in terms of subscribers and high value customers, holding on to them with everything that you got and continue to provide a superior customer experience.
what are the biggest challenges you have faced for infrastructure investments in the sector, and how have you managed this in Sahel's investing process?
Now, if you look at the Nigerian landscape, you have smattering of bits of infrastructure. Some, like irrigation, was built in the 70s in some parts of the country, primarily the north. But for the most part, we have very limited irrigation infrastructure. We have some good roads, quite a few bad roads in terms of moving goods out. Now, what it means for us as an investor is that we're not trying to figure out how do we bridge the gaps and where can we get potential optimal returns as we do this.
Now, the COVID pandemic has had a significant impact on global food systems and exposed the vulnerabilities of many supply chains. How do you think we can build more resilient and efficient food systems in Nigeria? And how is AFEX helping to bridge this gap?
Getting farmers to do the right practice, giving them the right access to capital, and giving them the right access to the input quality that can get them that. At 70,000 metric tons, we'll be feeding about 6 countries in the Sahel nation. On top of being almost self-sufficient with most of our foods. So really at the heart of that is efficiency and productivity increase.
Some of these kind of new stock market darlings have had their share price crash, and suddenly now everyone is saying that, oh, you know what, clean energy is not an attractive investment proposition. What's your perspective that in terms of next 5-10 years, an investor looking to invest in this sector, what kind of returns can they expect?
We must first of all understand that power is an infrastructure. The people in rural community, government has a duty and a responsibility to provide power to them. It's government's duty, but because the government is not doing it, we then find private developers, private investors going into those communities to provide electricity. We've raised funding from Chapel Hill in the last 18 months or thereabout. I'm planning to do another one, and we are beginning to see long-term predictable cash flow, because you have an asset that you can guarantee will continue to generate power over the next 10, 15, 20 years with minimal maintenance.
Realistically, does renewable energy present a real source of energy replacement to fossil fuels that will sort of enable Africa still be able to do all it needs to do for its people?
What we are offering is saving cost, it's green, it's typically much more reliable. It makes just so much economic sense. And we always say, even to top executives of our customers, so if you don't happen to really bother much about CO2, I'm sure you bother about PBT. Let's talk PBT. Let's talk the bottom line impact of you saving money on your electricity bill by replacing diesel. And then we are happy on our side that by way of reducing diesel, you have a huge CO2 reduction.
The panelists have helped us to craft a narrative, and the conversations that we have had today will enable all of us to begin to chart a path to a more prosperous Nigeria. I would also like to say a big thank you to everyone who has helped in making this a very successful day. Everything that's been said here today is relevant to all that we do, and we hope that we'll be able to continue this conversation. Thank you very much, everyone.